Hello, everyone. Welcome to Thursday. My name is Kelly Baltzell, and I'm CEO and owner of Beyond Indigo Pets. And I'm almost giggly with excitement that I have Dr. Mary Gardner on here because she's so vivacious and has a beautiful smile and just does such a great service for every pet owner out there in the United States. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you for having me on an awesome Thursday in August. I'm trying to remember what day it is or month it is.
Right? We were talking about how time is just so elusive and slippery, and it's just weird, you know?
Right. I feel like I'm getting cognitively older than I should during the last 4 months.
Oh, exactly. And somebody just said, how many weeks until Christmas? I'm like, what?
Oh my gosh. No.
It's not okay with me.
No, I think I missed Easter.
Stop. Right? So you do Lap of Love. This was your brainchild. First of all, people may not know what Lap of Love is. So tell people what Lap of Love is.
Yeah, so we are a nationwide practice of veterinarians that are dedicated to in-home end-of-life services. So the majority of what we do is in-home euthanasia, but we also offer hospice and also tele-advice for families when they don't know when is time. And that we will offer in all over the United States. But we have about 150 veterinarians now across the country. I know, Kelly, I think when you and I met, I had like 12. So
you were just starting out.
We little thing. So, and I think we're at about 73, individual market locations, if you will, that those veterinarians cover. So exclusively for the weak and the wobbly, the skinny and the stinky, and the most precious gray muzzles.
Oh, and I was asking you, like, do you just see dogs and cats? And you're like, oh no, we see them all, right?
We see them all. So it's like 80% dogs, 19% cats, and then the 1%, a lot of pigs, believe it or not. So little potbelly pigs or guinea pigs, hamsters, rabbits. Rabbits are also another big ones, but a couple of hedgehogs and a couple of skunks. So, it's our love goes beyond just the canine and the felines.
That is so awesome. And you guys are so compassionate, which is just amazing. Like I was telling you, my neighbor was so excited that your service existed. And, and he's like, do you know about it? I'm like, It's really great. But, there's that compassion for you. And has your guys' services changed at all during COVID? Because I know, gosh, it's a really stressful time, and add another super stressful time on top of it.
Right. It's kind of weird, right? So everybody before COVID, everybody says, oh, aren't you and your veterinarians just like compassion drained? And how do you deal with all these families that are crying? And although we may be sad and we may cry with the family because they're saying goodbye to their loved ones, I mean, we're not robots, that's for sure. But we also see the struggles that the family's having, the struggle that the pet is having. And if we can make it beautiful at home and honor that love and that bond that they have, right? And also pets are much more happier at home. So to be able to do this at home is so much better. So we leave with the feeling of just, I don't want to say satisfaction because that's not a good word, but just fulfillment, like happiness that we can help them. So although I'm crying during the appointment, I'm also on the other side so grateful, and they're so grateful, right? But so with COVID, we of course have had to make a lot of changes because we are going into families' homes. Since COVID started, we have been in over 30,000 homes since COVID started, and so and none of our veterinarians have tested positive. So so we have had to take a lot of precautions, just the normal stuff that everybody has to do. But the biggest problem now is that one of the best things that we as veterinarians get during the appointment is typically a hug. Oh. And the families would give us the best hugs. I mean, the guys would just cry on our shoulders and in a way that made us feel good, that we can help them. So we can't hug.
Right.
And that's actually, a lot of our vets have struggled with that because that was a big part of making them feel like they're making a difference and an impact. And so, and even, just seeing your face, you don't know if you're smiling or, it's so weird right nowadays, right?
So weird. And you don't realize how much you do rely on facial expressions, right? Or
during this, like that appointment, it's, I'm not sitting there like the it clown all smiley and weird, but like there's compassion that comes across. Also, when we're explaining things. And so like, how hard it is to hear anybody talk to you through your masks now. I'm always like, what did you?
Right.
So here I am trying to be like, I'm going to give sedation. So so we're trying to explain things with this mask and it's really hard. So, but families are so appreciative that we are still working, that we are still going to the homes, especially because, Kelly, so many clinics are not allowing anybody in or very limited amount of people in, even for the euthanasia.
And we hear that. Like we hear that with our clients saying, it's tearing us up inside that we can't let the pet owner inside. Like the veterinary team is struggling, right? Because it's
they understand how important this is. And they know, imagine taking somebody's pet away from them at the car to say goodbye. Like it's just mind boggling. I just can't. So
that heart stop here. Yeah.
So that's why we're still operating. We're still going to the homes. We're, taking precautions, doing things outside when we can. And luckily it's summertime, but I live in Florida and it's worse because it's so hot.
Oh.
Or raining like it is right now. But yeah, so a lot has changed.
Then how does hospice work with COVID? Just kind of the same way or?
So I'll be honest, Kelly. So we've had to actually stop a lot of our hospice because we are in the home so much longer with hospice, evaluating the pet, doing, physical exam, more like looking at their environment, messing with their food and what, like there's so much more involvement so that it's been really hard. So that's why we added tele-advice because also with our hospice appointments, the majority of it is discussing when is time. And with
a hard one. Yeah.
Right. And so like, hey, with mobility issues or with inappetence or with, end stage Cushing's disease or cancer, what, should I be looking for? So it's a conversation, which would take me 45 minutes, but we could still have that over the phone. So we've now turned to our tele-advice to offer that. And then if they do need to get medicine or something like that, then we would suggest that they go see their veterinarian. And it's also just helped to protect our vets. That way they can still help with the euthanasias.
Right. So you kind of have figured out a
type of shift. Yeah.
Right. So you figured out a hospice care, and then there is the euthanasia care, and then you also offer aftercare, which I make sure to point out to people because aftercare is a word also used in the tattoo industry and piercing industry.
I did not know this. What does it mean?
Yes, it's a huge, huge thing. And so I learned about this because I have grieving.com and that was my first foray into internet marketing, and I still have that going. So I learned that early on. And so I make sure to tell people like who might be, using ink or having piercings.
That is, I'm going to have to look this up. Okay, good. Right. Yep. So that is not what we do.
That is not what you do. Aftercare is not apples to apples here.
No. Our aftercare is cremation. So, right, which definitely, yeah. So, right, we about 80% of the families would like our assistance with cremation aftercare, right? So, and a large percentage of that would like their ashes returned. So a private cremation where their pet is cremated separately and then they get their ashes back. And the other half is communal where they're cremated with other pets and then their ashes are spread by the crematory. So a lot of our families need that because now I grew up in rural-ish New York where we would bury our pets. But now that I'm in South Florida, it's illegal in some locations or just impossible.
Right. So it's a thing, right?
It's a thing.
You got to know the thing, right?
You gotta know that. So I learned the thing so much that I actually 2 years ago opened my own crematory here in South Florida because we partner with crematories in our different locations. So, you know, our Minneapolis veterinarian has a great, you know, relationship with that crematory. So here in South Florida, I'm like, man, let's just open our own. And so that way it's kind of a seamless, you know, I don't call it interaction, but experience with the family. So they just kind of trust us for everything. But so that's been kind of a fun, you know, change.
A little bit of a foray, right? Yeah.
Right.
And there's so many options that people don't know about for memorialization, right? Because death and dying and grief are really not something we are socialized with in the United States. So we come into this experience with a very empty toolbox, emotional toolbox, so to speak. So we're grieving and learning at the same time.
Yeah, right. And I'd say even, I don't know, worse, I don't know if that's, but like there's a stigma even with grieving for a pet.
Huge.
And, right? So like somebody this is maybe 5 years ago, I lost one of my cats and I went out to dinner after, like it was, you know, in the afternoon, I euthanized him and I went out to dinner with just a couple and they were like, oh, we're so glad that you're coming out. Cause you know, it's just a cat. And I'm like, okay, first of all, I'm going out because I can't cook and I just want to take my mind off of Herbie. Like it's not because I am not grieving. Okay. Cause inside I would like to cry or I am crying, but I'm like, just a cat. And then I want to be like, you know what I do? like
At all?
Hello, are you crazy? So, but there are people that will say that or not understand, like, why does somebody need a week off of work to because their dog has died? Well, because it's grief, it's loss.
It's loss and it's unconditional love. I mean, some of our biggest conversations on grieving.com are over the loss of a pet. Like our biggest one this last month is my cat just died, what do I do? And just like you said, right? And so all these people are coming. And so then I talk to people and say, well, look at the emotional connection. Like that pet has an unconditional love bond with you. Whereas you may have not been that place with your mother, your father, your grandparents, right. But that animal was that connection, right?
Oh my gosh, right. Or that pet was the last living link between you and somebody else that has died. And that is, I've had this one woman I remember, and that was her husband's dog, and he died like the year before. And so, and it was like, that was their, you know, her like last connection to him. And you could try to say things like, well, at least he's on the other side. Like you could say all these things, but like, man, she just needs to go through that grief and sadness and as she should, right?
Like she should, and every grief journey is different, right? There's not a uniqueness, but you are so right. I see that so many times. Then they re-grieve that loss. Like she's now re-grieving the loss of her husband, right? In your scenario, and you know, going through a second block of the grief journey on that scenario.
Yeah.
And so having love and compassion through the whole journey that you guys offer is such a humongous gift that you give people, because they usually walk it alone and they don't know what to do.
They don't know what to do. And sometimes our vets are like, what do I do? What do I say? And sometimes I'm like, you don't have to always say something. Mm-hmm. Just be there. You know, help them, you know, prop up the picture of their husband and light the candle and just be there in silence so that way they're not alone. Like that's sometimes what people just need. And I think a lot of times veterinarians are very, we're adverse sometimes to silence. Sometimes we like it. And then sometimes, so then they'll talk too much and like, oh, so how'd your cat get its name? You know, and it's a black cat. And they're like, oh, its name is Blackie. Like, well, it's like, or Kitty, right? So, so sometimes we're uncomfortable with silence, and that's why I'm always like, just, you know, enjoy the silence sometimes, respect it, and it's, I love those times where I could share with the family that special moment and be a part of that, and that's why we also go by ourselves. So because we don't want to be too intrusive with another technician and a student or something like that, and so it's just like we want to quiet, We know what we're doing. We do it very well, humbly, I say. And so it's really nice to be able to help them no matter what the situation is, whether it's emergent or they've been waiting for 6 months as this, has been progressing.
Well, that's awesome. So people who, on both sides of the fence, if you're a pet owner, because a lot of us in the veterinary space are, besides working in the veterinary space,
right?
We kind of are the pet owner as well as something in the veterinary space. They need to visit your website if they don't know about you, right?
There we go.
lapoflove.com. And, you guys still hire veterinarians over time. And so if there's a veterinarian out there who's interested in talking, they also need to go to the Lap of Love, right?
Absolutely. And Kelly, thank you. So we have like 30 full-time positions open because we have so many areas where there's only one veterinarian and we help so many families, but then they need time off. So it's like every other weekend we're saying no to families, and it's so sad. So we've got a lot of locations where we only have one doctor where we need another doctor. So families can go to lapoflove.com. They can put in their zip code and up pops their local doctor if we service the area, or information on our tele-advice. And same thing with vets. Just if this sounds like something that, you'd be good at, I hate to say it, but
some people are. Right?
With people, reading a room, compassion, understanding grief and dealing with that, and or at least wanting to learn about it. Listen, I'm not good at surgery, so I should not be doing that.
We all have our strengths, right?
Exactly. So sometimes people are scared to admit it, that, like you're good at helping people with grief. Like that's not a usual skill.
No, and but we have people from over 100 different countries come every single year.
Fantastic.
Every single year, because it's a unifier, right?
Right. It's like a kinship that you form.
Yes, it's huge and it's free, so people can go there. So thank you so much, Mary. This is it's such a delight. I always love a moment in your space.
Oh, no, thank you for having me. And I miss seeing you in person. So hopefully,
right?
2021, hopefully that we can get together again.
No, it's not the same. I keep thinking, wow, that was really something I shouldn't have taken for granted.
Yeah, exactly. I know. That's why, I know everybody better watch out in 2021. I'm going to be like sticking to them like an octopus. We'll be up all night talking.
I know. It'll be great. Well, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Kelly. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Bye.